The only person who could cancel Eminem is SlimShady. Wait, I mean Marshall Mathers. Paul Rosenberg? So we know we have a new Eminem album coming. And actually, Eminem has just made a post teasing that we have a new Eminem song dropping on Tuesday. But what I find very interesting about this post is that there's 2 dates on it. It's not just July 2nd. There's also July 5th. Now, I've heard a lot of chatter, a lot of people talking on the internet and whispering that July 5th is finally time for the album drop of the death of SlimShady. We'll see. But in the meantime, as we gear up and get ready for a huge week next week, I thought, continuing the theme of SlimShady and this controversial figure of Eminem, who with Houdini has had people try to cancel him yet again, it brings to the table the question of, can Eminem ever be truly canceled? Well, we've got 5 different instances of where some of the most powerful people in the world have tried to cancel him. And we're going to dive into that video right here, right now. But before we go any further, listen, if you like the shirt that I'm wearing, bars, gotta catch them all. If you like the hat that I'm wearing, knoxsalemusic.com. Go cop your official merch, support the brand. It really, really does go a long way. I'll put all links down there. But anyways, what we're here for. SlimShady, step back up to the plate. Let's see what you got.
There are many groups that Eminem is quite despicable toward.
Lyrics from Eminem are from an album which is currently at number 3 on the Billboard chart.
Eminem album about the Eminem album.
There's nothing funnier than seeing Gen Z stumble upon an Eminem song and trying to cancel and boycott him on social media. What they don't realize is that canceling Eminem is impossible. Do you know why? Because in the early 2000s, he already faced some of the most intense cancellation campaigns in history. He was banned from stores, TV shows, and even became a topic of discussion in the US Senate. Do you really?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, the US government tried to cancel Eminem. The government tries to cancel an artist, and he overcame that. Gen Z, what power do you think you have?
TV shows, and even became a topic of discussion in the US Senate.
That is wild. I remember those times. It's just, I mean, crazy. Before social media was a thing. In the early days when you had to like AOL was dialing up, you had an SN on AIM Instant Messenger to try to see when your friends could go play.
From stores, TV shows.
Oh, the glory days.
And even became a topic of discussion in the US Senate. Do you really think you can cancel him from your cave behind a screen and a keyboard? So today, we'll take a look back at the 5 most serious cancellation attempts that Eminem faced in the early 2000s. By the start of the new millennium, Eminem had already risen to fame with his first album, the SlimShady LP, and he was already surrounded by controversy due to songs like 97 Bonnie and Clyde and Guilty Conscience. However, it was the Marshall Mathers LP that truly offended certain groups, and by the end of 2000, attempts to cancel Eminem began. The first protests against Eminem that garnered media attention.
I think what happened was you had the SlimShady LP drop, and that pissed off a lot of people, but Hi, My Name Is was a lot of the world's introduction to this man. So I think that first album, people were kind of like, while he was incredibly successful, they were still trying to figure him out. And they still thought, okay, maybe this is a gimmick. This is here for now, but this is going to go away, right? It's one of those things like, all right, we'll entertain it for now, but it'll, trends come and go. But then I think the issue that Eminem had was he was a victim of his own success, because then you had the Marshall Mathers LP, which just upped the SlimShady LP, and he continued to be talked about, and then you had the darker, more serious side of Eminem. Right? People started taking him seriously as an artist because what did he drop, which was one of the hits at that time, was I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am? You had Way I Am come out as one of the big hits at the time. You had Kill You as well. So I think the issue there is he starts, I'm just Marshall Mathers. I'm just a regular guy. I don't know why all the fuss about me. So he has all these different lyrics now where he starts mixing in Marshall Mathers. And then people are like, well, who is this SlimShady character? What's real for him versus what's real for Marshall Mathers and then this Eminem character? And because he had such success, people didn't know where the barriers lied. And then he had such a bigger target on his back. They started to realize he's not going away anytime soon. And he's got a major influence and platform. And what happens when you have a major influence and platform? They start looking for ways to tear you down.
Began. The first protests against Eminem that garnered media attention occurred on September 7, 2000, during the MTV VMA 2000 ceremony. Before the event, an activist group for gays and lesbians organized a protest against Eminem outside the Radio City Music Hall, where the ceremony was scheduled to take place. This group directly aimed to prevent Eminem from appearing at the gala.
Eminem has got to go, hey, hey, ho, ho. Eminem has got to go, hey, hey, ho, ho. Eminem has got to go. 2, 4, 6, 8, MTV promotes hate. 2, 4, 6, 8, MTV promotes hate.
Wow, that is some Karen rhythm.
We are here because Eminem's current lyrics on his Marshall Mathers LP really strongly suggests that young listening audience should go out and express their emotions through violence often aimed at the gay and lesbian community.
However, Eminem ended up being the big winner of the night, delivering an iconic performance and winning 3 awards. But my friends, this was just the beginning. The real juicy stuff came later. A year earlier, in 1999.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is before, like, we could all just share and retweet stuff. Like, people made signs and they picketed in the streets, and then they made terrible slogans, and that's how they tried to cancel you back then.
The real juicy stuff came later. A year earlier, in 1999, after the Columbine massacre, the then President Bill Clinton, yes, the one who received a surprise saxophone solo in the Oval Office, the one who spent his time bombing half the world, gave a speech where, among other things, he talked about the influence of video games, movies, and music from certain artists on children.
And we do know we have to do more to recognize the early warning signs that are sent before children act violently.
So the won't let me be me, so let me see. They try to shut me down on MTV, but it feels so empty without me.
All eyes turned to Marilyn Manson, and to a lesser extent, Eminem.
Represents in some ways the rap music, what I do with my life.
He was catching a lot of heat at the time, so I figured I would maybe take some off him and bring it on me.
Things escalated further on September 13, 2000, when a group of politicians, activists, religious figures, concerned parents, and other crappy collectives held a session in the Senate to discuss marketing violence targeted at children. And as you can imagine, one of the main points of discussion was the biggest star of the time, Eminem.
Now in the room, we have some easels that show some examples of this music. Now this stuff is not for the faint-hearted, but the music industry has decided it's for children. Nor are these obscure songs. The lyrics from Eminem are from an album which is currently at number 3 on the Billboard chart after spending 2 months this summer at number 1.
This is why in the Without Me video, Eminem, goes and takes the CD from the kid. He puts on his cape and he goes on this superhero mission with Dre. And then one of the big points that he makes is he points to the parental advisory sticker. How can you say it's marketed towards kids? There's a parental advisory sticker slapped on all those CDs.
Received 3 awards from it.
And this is why a lot of people who he attacked in his heat, he's like, don't blame me. Blame the parents. Blame bad parenting. Don't let their kids listen to it if they don't like it. But the thing is, you got to remember who's now listening to Eminem. You have a huge new fan base to rap and to hip hop that has never heard lyrics like this before. Even though lyrics like this have existed well before Eminem and hip hop, it's because of the success of Eminem and the level that he's at now having these shock value lyrics and these people being exposed to it to the first time. Why there were such issues and controversy around Eminem. All of a sudden, middle America started coming after him.
TV last week.
Meanwhile, this adorable...
But it's like the typical, like having a kid, or a teenager, right? Like, don't do this. Don't do this. You can't do it. Well, 9 times out of 10, you keep saying, don't do this, don't do this. You make it more tempting and more valuable for someone to actually go, listen or check it out. Like, if you ban a book or if you ban a song, there's a great likelihood you do that. That's going to up the viewership of it and the replay value of it because people are going to do it just because you tell them that they can.
Lady you see here was the one who put the most emphasis on Eminem. Her name is Lyn Cheney.
She's
and
a winner.
You might recognize her from songs like White America or Without Me. These were
I know that you got a job, Miss Shady, but your husband's heart problem's complicating.
some of the words the granny uttered about Eminem in the Senate.
I have lately been very disturbed by the lyrics of the rap singer Eminem. They could not be more despicable. They could not be more hateful in their attitudes toward women in particular. There are many groups that Eminem is quite despicable toward, but he is a violent misogynist. It is despicable. It is
Put
awful.
yourself through the torture of listening to this?
I actually listened to it, and I will give Eminem this credit. You can understand every word he said.
Ah!
Many rock singers and rappers you can't understand. This is absolutely clear. I decided that since the lyrics were so hateful
Well, at least he has a great
to
diction.
women, what I would do is write the 2 women members of the board of Seagram. Seagram owns Interscope. Interscope distributes and produces Eminem's records. Eminem received 3 awards from the entertainment industry last week, including Best Male Performer at the MTV Awards. Can you imagine that the entire industry honors this man whose work is so hateful?
Just a few months after the
I think Eminem's about equal opportunity. He hates everyone equally.
intervention, this grandma became the second lady of America,
This grandma.
as she was the wife of Vice President Dick Cheney.
Shout out to Shady Lesson. Some of this commentary is great.
Expression and freedom of speech only can go so far before you have Miss Cheney knocking at your fucking door.
After
Canada!
all of this, M was probably
Oh, Canada, America's backyard.
thinking that things couldn't get any worse. But he was wrong. In October of that same year, the Anger Management Tour was created, a tour that took Eminem, Papa Roach, Limp Bizkit, and more artists to cities across North America and Europe. On the 26th and 27th of that same month,
Remember we broke down the Everlast diss? It was from this tour when Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit were like, yeah, we'll hop on a diss track with you. And then when it came time to record it, they backed out. And this is why Eminem ended up going after them later on. This is the tour right here. Remember, we've talked about this. We did a breakdown
the
on it.
tour visited the Canadian cities of Toronto and Montreal. And you know what? More problems arose. Earlier in the month, Canadian activist Valerie Smith filed a complaint against Eminem with the Hate Crimes Police Department, stating that his
Hate
lyrics were
crimes?
considered hate speech under Canadian law. The
Wow.
matter ended up in the hands of the Attorney General. And if they concluded that the complainant was right, Eminem would end up in jail if he performed the concert. A few days later,
I think what's funny is like every new generation acts like the problems or the issues that they're facing with an artist is unique to them in their generation. You know, when you have people expose Eminem's lyrics from the past for the first time, you listen to a song like Kim in today's world. Imagine if Kim was released today, the backlash that he would get from it. But it's like a lot of people hear that, they hear the backlash, they go, well, they already tried to cancel him for this like 20 years ago. Like, this is not new. Just because it's new to you doesn't mean it's new to everybody else. Know the history.
Attorney General Jim Flaherty stated that Eminem should be
I mean, you had a whole country come after him now, right? It's not enough that the U.S. government came after him, right? Now you've got an entire nation who was going to ban him from having maple syrup on his pancakes. I mean, the levels to this
banned
one.
from entering Canada due to his violent lyrics against women, and that they were considering ways to prevent his entry. He even called immigration to prevent Eminem from crossing the border. Meanwhile, the opposition party, being even more cheeky, said that they should let him perform so he could break the law and then they could jail him.
It's time for the Attorney General to investigate and, if necessary, prevent Eminem's concert. Well, these lyrics suggest...
Oh, Canada, they always get so jealous of Big Brother. They just want some attention. They want some of the Eminem attention, right? Eminem's getting too much attention in America. No, we want some of this.
Suggest that violence
I'm sorry, Canada. I loved you. I lived in Toronto and played up there for 2 years, remember?
against women is cool.
Basically, they were saying that if he performed...
Wait, what did you say?
Violence against women is cool.
Basically, they were saying that if he performed Kill You, he'd be headed straight for jail.
Got a censorship issue about Eminem, so I ain't worried about him doing I'll Kill You. I told him, yeah, do it twice tonight.
Finally, they couldn't prevent Eminem from entering the country, although it was a close call. The first concert was on the night of the 26th, and Eminem arrived just a few hours before. You're probably wondering, what songs did Marshall sing? Well, I'm Back, Kill You, Under the Influence, and Sit on You, all in a row. And as if that wasn't enough, he dedicated some beautiful words to Valerie.
Toronto, how many people here tonight are sick of motherfuckers talking shit about me? I'm so fucking sick of every critic and every motherfucking journalist talking shit about my music. They told me that if I perform Kill You tonight, that they was gonna lock me up. Guess what? I already performed it. I dedicate this next
As we reach the end of the year...
Look, say what you want about this man. There's plenty of hate that he gets to this day, and people will hate on him. Eminem has balls. He's always had balls. When you have a whole country coming after you, you have politicians coming after you, you stand on stage, you go, fuck that. You're not going to censor me in my art. You got to respect that. And we've talked about this. How far can art go? Are there lines that art shouldn't cross? And I do believe we need to protect artists from worrying about having to put a filter on their art. Because what's the point of art? Art is a release. Art is an outlet. It's an expression. It gets you talking about things. It can help you talk about uncomfortable topics and controversial situations that normal life just can't deal with and doesn't normally talk about. Like, that's the beauty of art. But the second that an artist is worried, am I going to get canceled for this? They're going to come after me for this. Well, then you're now affecting the purity and filtering that art. Just let it be art and let them express themselves. And then we can deal with it afterwards in terms of what's created.
2000, M took stock.
Well, if you wanted to change anything from the year 2000, what would you change?
If I change something from the year 2000, I don't think I'd change a thing. I think everything fell into place right as it should. The good and the bad, you know. Maybe some things in my personal life I would have changed, you know, my little legal problems back home, which I can't really discuss, but maybe that. But other than that, everything else felt right.
Yeah, your ex-wife, your mother suing you.
In place,
think about this shit this man's gone through.
Who I thought I was gonna piss off with this album, I pissed off. Everything that everything went according to plan, I guess you could say.
But what happened in 2001? Well, it came just like 2000 had gone. In February, Eminem had to
UK versus Eminem? I thought we already did this in 1776.
Continue with the tour, this time across Europe, and the United Kingdom was the final stop, and the one that gave him the most trouble. To start with, the police were being finicky and told him he could bring his chainsaw on stage.
Finicky? That's a good word of the day they use.
Couldn't turn it on, and if he did, he'd go to jail.
If, for example, in Manchester and London, they're saying that if you come on stage with your chainsaw going and the power's on, they're going to stop you. I mean, what do you think about that?
Oh my God. You know what?
Vroom, vroom.
They should be so happy that I'm here to give them something to do.
You have a chainsaw, with the chainsaw's going, or you take ecstasy, or you drink, or you say the F word, or stick up your middle finger, or move the crowd, or do any type of show at all, then we will arrest you. Because we are tough London cops. Tough Manchester cops.
And to continue, the press spent 20...
Sounds like me trying to do a British accent.
4 hours a day creating more controversy.
Tomorrow night, 20,000 Eminem fans will rush up these rain-soaked Manchester steps to see the controversial US rapper take to the stage. But what role has he been cast in? Hero or villain?
Meanwhile, the gay protesters, or whatever this thing was, kept doing their thing. And if
Whatever
that wasn't
this thing-
enough,
Jesus.
M had the brilliant idea of completely disregarding everything and performing a skit he always did before singing Purple Pills. That's when the cops grabbed him by the balls, and they spent hours reviewing the recordings trying to catch him.
Just when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, the tour is coming to an end, it's not, and now we're going to jail.
As a precaution, if you like, we've taken possession of that and we're studying the video to see if there are any offences that may have been committed.
Well, tonight we can't perform any songs.
I mean, all right, so we went from politicians, Canadian government, to now UK police force is trying to stop Eminem at his shows from doing his bits.
We can't talk about drugs. So, have a nice night.
But drugs are fun.
Sorry.
They're for kids.
There'll be no ticket refunds. Tear the stadium up, it's not my problem.
Paul.
And as an epic final point, after all of this, the Grammy Awards came around, and I suppose many of you already know.
And guess what, right? That was Marshall Mathers LP. It's SlimShady. Eminem still went #1 in the UK on Without Me and everything. He just kept hitting success after success, even after they tried to stop him.
What happened? With the awards just around the corner, the gay and lesbian activist group organized another protest outside the Staples Center.
We're here to say for all the social justice organizations that try to make the world a safe. You're here to say,
Shady Lessons. What are you doing? National Organization for Women. Random hoe.
all the social justice organizations that try to make the world a safe
But what's her last name?
place, that this is not art, this is hate speech.
They even paid to put this ad on TV during the ceremony.
The next time you use words like these, think about what they really mean.
That's when Eminem
now TV's trying to cancel
to
him.
strike back once and for all.
I do have a little surprise in store at the Grammys that
This was a genius chess move right
one
here.
of the main reasons that I'm going.
He enlisted
Sir Elton
one of
John.
the most important gay artists in history, Elton John, and ended his performance by
you know what? We should react to the live performance of Stan at the Grammys with Elton John. That'd be dope to
Hugging
do.
it.
Just dive into it and break that one down.
and flipping everyone else off. At this gala, M took home 3 Grammys, and we could see the tension he was under before giving his first speech.
Did you really choose the words "at this gala"?
Home 3 Grammys.
Wordplay.
And we could see the tension he was under before giving his first speech. The next day, all the newspapers and TV news shows had a slot to talk about the issue. I think you know how all these attempts to cancel Eminem ended, right? Well, if you don't, I'll tell you. 2 decades have passed, and Eminem is no longer just a star. He's a legend. Don't forget to check out my other videos for more
Middle fingers up, baby.
content like this.
I mean, I think that's the thing. One of the genius moves, in my opinion, that Eminem did early on was creating this alter ego and persona of Shady. Because he laid the blueprint and he let us know, don't blame me, blame Shady. And Shady became that muse and that source for him taking the extreme sides of his personality and just like projecting them onto Shady. And I think that was always the appeal of the dark, twisted world and mind and humor of Shady. You didn't know, like, maybe he would actually do some of these things. Maybe he wouldn't. But at the end of the day, he's just being Shady. That's the alter ego of Eminem. That's Eminem when you know he's trolling, when you know he's joking, when you know he's playing around. And to me, setting it up that way just went to show you sort of the chess moves of Eminem. Like, yeah, I've created this character. And what? Now you're going to take everything that this character I've created through my art and my creativity. You're going to take that seriously? Like, I mean it all literally? Am I literally loading these guns up and making you go shoot someone? No, this is music at the end of the day. And that's why we got one of my favorite songs, Sing for the Moment, right? When he talks about entertainment and how it gets confused. But you've had great moments where Eminem has then flipped it as Marshall Mathers or as Eminem and given us a serious side to it. And he's always stood up for his artistic expression, for his integrity. And in a world today that is so filled with just social media hate and everybody just jumps on these trends of hating someone and attacking them and cancel culture and sponsors pulling sponsorships, it's still refreshing to this day. And I think it's still applicable. This attitude and this mentality that Eminem has and has carried through the years. And I think we're going to see the culmination of this in the death of SlimShady. Whatever this means. If he's really killing Shady and starting a new legacy, or if this is the end for Eminem, I think all of this is built up over the years for all the backlash and controversy that we got of Shady. And he teased a little bit of it. He teased playing around and giving us that trolling with Houdini. But we'll see where we go from here. Eminem, you are Knoxville certified. Hope you guys liked today's video. Listen, if you're here at the end, bars, gotta catch them all. Go get your Knoxville merch, knoxvillemusic.com, hats, hoodies, shirts, everything. Support the brand. It really, really does go a long way. I love you guys. Stay safe, stay positive. It's Knoxville. I'll catch you again.